The 7 taboo sexual sins, the painful truth, and the path to recovery. Are you dare to face it? Welcome back to Rise and Heal. Today, we're going to dive into a sensitive yet incredibly important topic, one that many people shy away from, but that has the power to transform lives. The 7 taboo sexual sins that the Bible warns against. This is not a condemnation, but an invitation to truth, grace, and true freedom. If you're feeling tired, guilty, or hopeless, stay. Because God's good news isn't for those who are perfect. It's for those who are hungry for healing. Part 1. Adultery. The breaking of the sacred covenant. Imagine a beautiful day when two people stand before God, making sacred promises to each other to love, respect, and be faithful for life. It is not just a promise between two people, but also a covenant with the Creator. But when adultery enters, it not only breaks a relationship, but also tears apart a sacred covenant. Main content. What is adultery? It is not only a betrayal, but also an attack on the most sacred thing that God has established for humanity: marriage. The Bible clearly says, "You shall not commit adultery." Exodus 20:14. This is not a rule to control behavior, but a protection for the spiritual, emotional, and physical relationship that marriage provides. Consequences of adultery. It not only hurts the two people in the marriage, but also affects the children, the family, the community, and the church. Trust is broken, love is hurt, and hearts are broken. The story of King David and Bathsheba. A classic example of the fall and consequences of adultery. Although King David sinned greatly, when he truly repented, God forgave and restored him. This shows that no matter how great the sin, God's grace is always available. If you are facing adultery, whether you are the perpetrator or the victim, remember, God has not abandoned you. Repentance and forgiveness are the first steps on the road to recovery. Be brave enough to face the truth, seek help, and believe that God can change things. Part 2. Premarital sex. Losing the sacred. In a world where premarital sex is considered normal, even encouraged, how can we maintain our belief in the sanctity of sexuality? The Bible teaches that sex is a precious gift, reserved for marriage. When we abuse that gift, we not only hurt ourselves, but we also lose the sacred connection that God intended. Main content. What is fornication? It is engaging in sexual activity outside of marriage, an act that is contrary to God's original intention. The Bible warns, flee from fornication. 1 Corinthians 6:18. The consequences of premarital sex. It not only affects the body, but also damages the soul, spirit, and ability to truly connect with others. Relationships built on shaky foundations are more likely to fall apart, leaving deep wounds. The call: flee from sexual sin and seek purity and freedom in God. Even if you have fallen, remember that God is always ready to forgive and restore you. If you are struggling with premarital sex, have the courage to face the truth. God does not condemn you, but invites you to forgiveness and freedom. Seek help, set boundaries, and trust that God will give you the strength to live in purity. Part 3. Homosexual behavior. Contrary to God's original design. In a world that is constantly changing and redefining love, identity, and relationships, how can we maintain our faith in the truth of the Bible? Homosexual behavior is a sensitive topic, but the Bible is very clear on this. God makes no distinction between sins. He invites all people to forgiveness and transformation. What is homosexual behavior? The Bible describes homosexual behavior as contrary to God's original design for sexuality and marriage. Romans 1:26-27. God created men and women to reflect His love, unity, and divine purpose. God's grace. God does not place homosexual behavior on a separate list of sins. He invites all people, regardless of their sin, to forgiveness and transformation through faith in Jesus. The appeal. Don't let the world define love and acceptance. Seek the truth in the Bible and trust that God has a better plan for your life. If you are struggling with homosexual behavior, remember that God has not abandoned you. He loves you and wants you to be free. Have the courage to face the truth, seek help, and trust that God will transform your life. Part 4. Lust, the silent fire that destroys from within. Lust is not a loud sin. It often lurks in the darkness of the mind, silently destroying from within. Jesus warned, "Whoever looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Matthew 5:28. This is not to condemn, but to alert us to the seriousness of what happens in the mind. What is lust? It starts with a look, a thought, but if left unchecked, it leads to action and destroys the soul. Consequences of lust. It distorts the way we see others, turns love into lust, and connection into consumption. It also dulls our spiritual sensitivity and distances us from God. The call. Renew your mind, flee from evil desires, and seek help from God and the community. Remember, you are not alone in this fight. If lust is becoming a secret fortress in your life, bring it into the light. God does not condemn you. He wants to heal you. Seek help, set boundaries, and trust that God will give you the strength to overcome. Part 5. Pornography, poison for the soul. Pornography has become one of the most prevalent and accessible sins in the modern world. It is not just a form of entertainment, but a silent poison that destroys the soul, mind, and spirit. The Bible warns, flee from sexual immorality. 1 Corinthians 6:18. What is pornography? It turns the sacred into a consumer product, distorting the image of true love and connection. The consequences of pornography. It weakens our ability to connect with others, dulls our spiritual sensitivity, and leaves us feeling lonely and empty. The call, bring it to light, seek help, and trust in God's forgiveness and restoration. You do not have to live in this bondage. If pornography is controlling your life, have the courage to face the truth. God has not abandoned you. He wants you to be free. Seek help, set boundaries, and trust that God will heal you. Part 6. Incest. Violating the sacred boundaries of the family. Incest is one of the most serious sexual sins because it violates the sacred boundaries of the family, a place designed by God to protect, love, and nurture. When those boundaries are broken, the consequences are not only physical, but also deeply psychological and spiritual. What is incest? The Bible lists many forms of incest and warns that they are serious sins. Leviticus 18. The consequences of incest. It destroys the foundation of the family, turns love into hurt, and leaves lasting wounds. The call, face the truth, seek help, and believe that God can heal all wounds. If you are dealing with incest, whether as a victim or a perpetrator, remember that God sees your pain. He wants to heal and restore you. Be brave enough to face the truth and seek help. Part 7. Prostitution. Turning the sacred into a transaction. Prostitution is not just an act. It is a betrayal of God's divine design for sex and love. It turns people created in God's image, into products to be consumed and discarded. What is prostitution? It turns love and connection into a transaction, depriving people of their worth. Consequences of prostitution. It wounds the soul, destroys self-esteem, and leaves us feeling empty. The call. God does not abandon those who have fallen. He invites them to forgiveness and restoration. If prostitution is part of your past or present, remember that God does not define you by your sin. He wants you to be free and live in recovery. Have the courage to face the truth and trust that God will transform your life. We have explored the 7 forbidden sexual sins together. But the most important thing is not the sin, but God's grace and restoration. Wherever you are on this journey, remember that God always welcomes you back with open arms. He does not condemn, but invites you to truth, freedom, and unconditional love. Leave your comments below, share your story, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with your loved ones. Join Rise and Heal every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Together, we can find healing and restoration in God. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.